India is one of the world's oldest civilizations, with a history dating back thousands of years, attracting tourists from around the globe. Our culture places great significance on temples, some of which showcase exceptional architecture and craftsmanship. Today, we'll share the story of an ancient and mysterious temple, the Kedarnath Temple in Uttarakhand. While there is no exact proof of who built this unique temple, there are intriguing legends surrounding its construction. Some say this temple was built by the Pandavas during the Mahabharata era to attain liberation from their sins, while others believe that it was constructed by Adi Shankaracharya in the 8th century. Among all these stories, one thing is certain. This temple is filled with many secrets, and learning about them is a fascinating experience. You'll be amazed to know that the Kedarnath Temple, a symbol of faith and devotion, was buried in snow for 400 years. And during that time, no one knew that Baba Bholanath's ancient temple was hidden beneath the ice. You'll also explore the stories of the temple's priests, who were once believed to possess superhuman powers. Let's begin with its tradition and history. Friends, do you know that the Pandavas built the Kedarnath Temple? Kedarnath Temple, as ancient as it is mentioned in our ancient scriptures. Kedarkalp and Kedarkand extensively describe this temple. According to the Vishnu Purana, when Lord Brahma created this universe, Lord Vishnu incarnated as two sages, Na and Narayan, to protect it. They undertook severe penance on the Gandhamadhan mountain to please Lord Shiva. Pleased with their penance, Lord Shiva appeared before them and granted them a boon. Na and Narayan asked him to reside in Kedar Bhumi in his divine form. Lord Shiva granted their wish, saying Tathastu, and disappeared. Since then, Kedarnath Bhumi is considered the abode of Shiva, but the most popular and interesting story associated with the Kedarnath Temple is linked to the Pandavas. You must have heard the epic Mahabharata story. The Mahabharata is considered the world's biggest war. In this war, the Pandavas defeated the Kauravas and emerged victorious. But what happened after this war? Very few people know. The Mahabharata is called the war between righteousness and unrighteousness. In this war, the Pandavas had to fight against their own brothers, the Kauravas, to protect righteousness. The battle lasted for 18 days, and the Pandavas emerged victorious, defeating Duryodhana and all the other Kauravas. Not only did they win the war, but to achieve victory, the Pandavas had to kill their own guru, Dronakarya, grandfather Bhishma, and many relatives. After the war, the Pandavas did gain control of Hastinapur, but they were not feeling satisfied. Killing their own brothers and gurus was troubling them. In such a situation, Yudhishthira, Bhima, Arjuna, Nakula, Sahadeva, and Draupadi went to Lord Krishna for guidance. The Pandavas explained their situation to him. It is said that Lord Krishna listened to the Pandavas' plight and then told them that they had committed the sin of killing their brothers and many Brahmins in the war. Therefore they were burdened with the sin of Gotrahatya and Brahminhatya. If the Pandavas wanted to attain heaven, they would have to cleanse themselves of this sin. So first, they must atone for this sin to purify themselves. But how? When the Pandavas asked this question, Lord Krishna told them that the supreme deity who governs the cycle of life and death is Lord Mahadev, also known as Lord Shiva. He is also famous as Mahakal, who could grant them liberation from this sin. It is said that Lord Krishna knew well that Mahadev resided in Kedarnath. In the snow here, his Jyotirlinga is hidden. By having a darshan of this Jyotirlinga, the Pandavas could free themselves from their sins. Therefore, Lord Krishna advised the Pandavas to go to Kedarnath and have darshan of the Jyotirlinga. Upon Lord Krishna's advice, the Pandavas and Draupadi set out in search of Lord Shiva, who resided in the lap of the Himalayas at Kedarnath. It has also been claimed in many places that the Pandavas were not in search of Lord Shiva's Jyotirlinga, but were actually looking for Lord Shiva himself in Kedarnath. In their quest, the Pandavas wandered in the Himalayas for several days. Wherever they went, all they could see was snow stretching as far as the eye could see. Exhausted from searching for Mahadev, the Pandavas took a rest. The Pandavas had no modern facilities as we have today. Where they were at that time, there were no signs of any living beings, not even birds. After wandering for a long time, the Pandavas finally reached Guptakashi. At that time, Lord Shiva and goddess Parvati were resting there. It is said that Lord Shiva was very angry with the Pandavas for killing their own brothers and gurus. He did not want to see the Pandavas, but Mother Parvati, seeing the distressed condition of the Pandavas and Draupadi, could not remain indifferent. Subsequently, in Guptakashi, goddess Parvati gave a darshan to the Pandavas. Pandavas inquired about Mahadev. To this, Mother Parvati told them that in their quest for Lord Shiva, she couldn't be of much help, but she could tell them the path they needed to take. The Pandavas followed the path indicated by Mother Parvati. On their way, they encountered a herd of many buffaloes. Yudhishthira knew that once, during a battle with the demon Bhasmasura, Lord Shiva had taken on the form of a buffalo. They understood that Lord Shiva must be hidden among these buffaloes. Yudhishthira told Bhima to remove each buffalo from the herd one by one, as among them they might find Lord Shiva. Bhima started separating the buffaloes one by one. He forcibly made them pass between his two legs. One by one, the buffaloes went beneath Bhima's legs, but one buffalo was not ready to pass beneath Bhima's legs. That buffalo was so stubborn that even after all his efforts, it refused to pass beneath Bhima's legs and started entering underneath the ground. Eventually, Bhima grabbed the buffalo's tail and started pulling it out of the ground. It is said that Bhima had the strength of 10,000 elephants. Despite his incredible strength and many attempts, only the buffalo's rear portion came out of the ground, while its front remained trapped beneath. Seeing the unwavering faith of the Pandavas, Mahadev was pleased and revealed himself to them. He freed them from their sins. During the incident with the Pandavas, when Lord Shiva assumed the form of a buffalo, only the rear part of his body could emerge above the ground. That's why even today, in the Kedarnath Temple, he is worshipped in this form. Although other parts of his body emerge separately in different places, these are known as the Panch Kedar shrines. According to the Puranas, the upper part of Shiva's body emerged at Pashupatinath in Nepal. The middle part of his body emerged in Ukimath, Rudraprayag district, where Lord Shiva's navel is worshipped. The mouth of Lord Shiva is worshipped at Rudranath, and the jata, hair, is worshipped at Kalpeshwar. It is said that the Pandavas built a temple at Kedarnath so that they could spend their time worshipping and performing rituals. During their time, they had only chickpeas and ghee for worship, which is why chickpeas and ghee hold great significance in the worship of Lord Kedarnath even today. If you look closely at the Kedareshwar Ling, you can see that one part of it has the symbol of Lord Ganesha, and in another place you can spot the symbol of goddess Durga. This was the story of Kedarnath. However, have you ever noticed that Lord Shiva always resides in remote areas, such as the Kailash mountain, Amarnath or other distant places? In Kedarnath as well, there is a place that is open only for 6 months in a year. During the remaining 6 months, Mahadev resides in solitude, as we mentioned at the beginning. The doors of the Kedarnath shrine open on Akshaya Tritiya and close on Bhai Dooj, which is a period of 6 months. The worship of this ancient Kedarnath temple, thousands of years old, is conducted with great rituals and ceremonies. In the first morning puja, the Jyotirlinga is bathed with holy water. Then, a layer of ghee is applied. Afterward, an arti is performed, in which common devotees can also participate. In the evening, Lord Shiva is adorned with great splendor. Mahadev made Himalaya the king of mountains and designated places for all the deities, yakshas, and Gandharvas. Shiva himself started residing on earth in the form of the Kedarnath Jyotirlinga. Since ancient times, yakshas and Gandharvas used to come here to worship Lord Shiva. Even today, these 6 months are reserved for yakshas and Gandharvas. When the doors of Kedarnath are closed, the silver idol of Lord Shiva's Panchamukhi form is taken to the Omkareshwar temple in Ukimath, where worship and rituals are conducted for the next 6 months. The head priest of the Kedarnath temple is called the Rawal. They belong to the Veerashaiva community from Karnataka. The Rawal has 3 assistant priests to help with their duties. However, the priests of Kedarnath have a fascinating history. Since ancient times, there has been a prominent class of people who worshipped Lord Shiva. In the 4th century, those who worshipped and revered Lord Shiva started calling themselves Pashupat, because Mahadev is also known as the Lord of Animals. The Pashupatinath temple in Nepal is very famous in this regard. You might have seen images of Lord Shiva's river and other animals serving him in the temple. It is said that the Pashupati community also considered themselves as Nandi, the sacred bull of Lord Shiva, and worshipped the Lord accordingly. Their lifestyle and conduct were akin to Nandi. They chanted Shiva mantras and possessed supernatural powers. Shiva's commander, Virabhadra, is also known as Bhairavnath among them. According to beliefs, Bhairav, known as the deity of cremation grounds, was born out of Lord Shiva's anger, making him another form of himself. Thus, Bhairav Baba is a prominent deity in the Garhwali culture. Kedarnath also has a dedicated temple to Bhairavnath. As per the history of Kedarnath, after the 6th century, the temple became a renowned pilgrimage site, attracting devotees and kings alike. By the 10th century, Kedarnath had become a prominent pilgrimage destination, and it was connected to other sacred places. During this time, many kings began visiting Kedarnath for the darshan of Lord Shiva. By the late 18th century, many kings had initiated the construction of temples in the vicinity of Kedarnath. Priests from other regions of the country were sent here. Gradually, this area became a major and well-connected pilgrimage site. Even renowned South Indian poets mentioned Kedarnath in their poems during the 7th century. It is said that between the 13th and 19th centuries, the Nath and Veer communities were quite popular. They were considered the greatest devotees of Lord Shiva. The communities had a deep understanding of Lord Shiva's legends and texts and knew it by heart. According to the Veerashaiva community, Kedarnath is one of their 5 monasteries. Besides Kedarnath, the other monasteries are Ramapuri, Ujjain, Shrishailam, and Varanasi. Each monastery has its own Jagadguru, spiritual leader, and their disciples serve in various temples, such as Vishwanath Temple in Guptkashi, Madhya Maheshwar Temple, and Omkareshwar Temple in Ujjain. When we talk about Kedarnath and Garhwal, the two are intricately linked. As you might have heard, Kedarnath has been associated with many kings since the 13th century and onwards. Kedarnath had become a famous pilgrimage site for the common people. Following that, for the next 4 centuries, various small territories in the vicinity of Kedarnath and Badrinath Dham started governing. Each territory built its own fort, which is why this region came to be known as Garhwal. These small territories united under the rule of King Ajaypal of the Parma dynasty. It is said that due to the remote nature of this region, its development was slow compared to other areas. The region received a new identity when Shankaracharya arrived here. During this time, India and Tibet had established commercial relations. Pilgrimage tourism had also become a significant source of income. To travel from North India to Tibet, one had to pass through Badrinath because Kedarnath was often closed due to its large glacier. Hence, during that era, from a financial perspective, Kedarnath was not as important. In those days, Badrinath served as a major route to Tibet, Central Asia and Russia. Britishers took full advantage of this route. They received silk, Kashmiri products and rock salt from here. In 1815, the British defeated the Gurkhas and brought this region under their control. Furthermore, let's explore its remarkable architecture and construction. Kedarnath Temple, the center of millions of devotees' faith, is not only remarkable for its spiritual significance, but also for its incredible construction, remote location, and rich history. This temple has intrigued numerous national and international researchers. Do you know that Kedarnath and some other Shiva temples in India are geographically aligned, all built in a straight line, even when advanced technology didn't exist worldwide? Nestled in the lap of the Himalayas, Kedarnath Temple is situated in the Rudraprayag district of Uttarakhand. It is the highest temple in Uttarakhand. Its construction is so incredible that there is no other temple like it in the entire world. Let's talk more about the temple, but before that, there must be a mention of its unique architecture. This temple is built at an altitude of 3,600 meters above sea level. Its construction appears to be not human-made, but superhuman-made. After the Pandavas, the temple remained buried for many years, but it survived until the 8th century. it was in ruins at various places. It is believed that Jagadguru Shankaracharya renovated it in the 8th century. Thus, this temple has stood firm in its place for 1200 years. So, what kind of technology existed at that time that allowed this temple to still stand strong after so many years? Even after all these years, the stones are perfectly intact because a technique was used to join them together. Isn't it truly a remarkable construction? Just think about it. Today, we need mechanical lifts and many modern machines to build a building. Meanwhile, thousands of years ago, in the remote regions of the Himalayas, where even walking is difficult, how was such a gigantic temple constructed with thousands of tons of stone? We will hear more about that later. But friends, the history and construction of the Kedarnath Temple are as fascinating as it gets. The journey to Kedarnath Temple, which is an adventure in itself, is considered to have been ongoing for thousands of years. Even today, the Kedarnath Yatra is the most important part of the Chardham Yatra. If you want to come to Kedarnath, understand that there is no railway station near Kedarnath. The nearest railway station is Rishikesh railway station, which is about 210 kilometers from Gaurikund. The temple is open only for 6 months a year. During this time, we, humans, can worship Lord Shiva. But for the remaining 6 months, the temple is closed. According to the Puranas, in these 6 months the Yakshas and Gandharvas come to Kedarnath Temple to worship Mahadev. You must have heard about various wonders of the world and the stories associated with them. Over time, old temples, palaces and other monuments often deteriorate. Many monuments cannot withstand the test of time and end up as ruins. However, Kedarnath is an ancient temple that stands today just as it did thousands of years ago. The Kedarnath Temple was constructed by joining massive stones, making it a marvel in itself. What's even more astonishing is that this temple remained buried under snow for nearly 400 years, when it started to crumble at various places. In the 8th century, Jagadguru Shankaracharya renovated it. But did you know that several years later, the world experienced a little ice age? Yes, friends, the period between 1302 and 1980 is known as the Little Ice Age. Kedarnath was already nestled in the lap of the Himalayas, and during this Little Ice Age, the temple was completely engulfed by ice. The temple remained buried under the snow for 400 years. During this time, no one could even guess that an ancient temple was hidden beneath the desolate icy landscape. The Wadia Institute of Himalayan Geology in Dehradun conducted a detailed study on this. They used a technique called luminescence, dating to determine the age of the stones. Scientists have brought a significant revelation about the Kedarnath Temple using a scientific technique called luminescence dating. They claimed that this temple remained buried under snow for 400 years. To substantiate their claim, scientists provided some evidence. Scientists explained that on the walls of the temple there are numerous parallel lines or grooves. Such markings can only occur when a glacier or a rock rubs against the temple walls for an extended period. Scientists argue that there are signs of glacier deposits inside the temple as well, because the stones inside the temple show more polish compared to those outside. It's worth noting that glaciers aren't just made of ice, they also contain rocks and sediment. However, it's truly astonishing that even after being buried under snow for 400 years, the temple remained intact. According to scientists, glacier formation in the Kedarnath region began in the 14th century and continued until 1748, with the Korabari Glacier being a part of Kedarnath's geography. This temple is surrounded by mountains in 3 ways. Kedarnath, situated on the banks of the Mandakini River, remains completely covered in snow during the winter months. Let's explore the mysterious events in Kedarnath. They are worth noting. According to Hindu Puran, Mahadev is not only a god but also a destroyer. The construction of this temple was done in such a way that it can withstand any natural disaster. Even the wrath of Mother Nature couldn't harm it. Kedarnath Temple stands at a height of 85 feet, with a length of 187 feet and a width of 80 feet. Its walls are 12 feet thick and built with very strong stones. These stones are positioned on a 6-foot high platform. Researchers took rock samples from 4 different parts of Kedarnath Temple and conducted studies using a microscope, X-ray and a spectrometer. They found that the stones are of a natural white color, with occasional dark and light bands in between. According to religious literature and archaeological studies, this temple is at least 3,000 years old. However, there are conflicting reports about the age of the temple walls. Puranas, which are ancient Indian scriptures, make no mention of glaciers around the temple. Therefore, scientists believe there could be 3 reasons for the presence of glaciers near the temple. Firstly, glaciers might be too far from the current location of the temple. Secondly, there might not have been any glaciers in that area in the past. Thirdly, it's possible that glaciers were present in that region before, and the temple was constructed after clearing the glacier. It is believed that even during the floods in 2013, Kedarnath Temple was spared because of its strong construction and architectural design. In Gopeshwar, Gopinath Temple, also known as Gopinath Mahadev, resembles Kedarnath Temple in appearance and is considered to have a similar robust construction. Another famous stone associated with Kedarnath Temple is not as old as the temple itself. This stone arrived in 2013. During the 2013 floods, when Kedarnath was severely affected, this stone came from somewhere and got stuck behind Kedarnath Temple. Water was approaching the temple from one direction, but this stone acted as a shield for the temple. Even today, this stone stands behind Kedarnath Temple, serving as a protective rock. But how did this stone come here? Is it merely a coincidence, or is it a divine act of Mahadev? And now let us explore the connection of Kedarnath Temple with other Shiva temples. You heard about how mysterious and astonishing the construction of Kedarnath Temple is? Gathering information about it can be quite challenging. Humans constructed it, or so it seems. It appears that some superhuman might have built it. However, believe it or not, this temple was built thousands of years ago without the use of any modern technology. Friends, there may be no marvel in the world like Kedarnath Temple, but it exists, and it is connected to other famous Shiv temples in India. Can you guess what that connection is? The connection exists between Kedarnath and the other 8 Mahadev temples, spanning from Kedarnath to the last Rameshwaram in South India. All these temples are located along a geographical straight line. These temples are situated at a longitude of 79 degrees. To start with, Kedarnath Temple is located at 79.7 degrees, just like Srikalahasti Temple in Andhra Pradesh and Kaleshwaram Temple in Telangana, both of which are at 79 degrees, and Akambareswara Temple, Jambukeswara Temple, Annamalaya Temple, Nataraja Temple, and Ramanathaswamy Temple in Tamil Nadu are at 79 degrees. Just think about how these ancient temples, built thousands of years ago, achieved such perfect geographical alignment. Describing the incredible construction of these ancient temples in words is nearly impossible. All these temples are aligned along a straight line from Kedarnath to Rameshwaram. There are many more mysteries waiting to be uncovered. As we read more about these temples, our interest grows. For instance, consider what kind of technology and science our ancestors possessed to accomplish such construction without modern tools. These centuries-old temples represent the 5 elements of nature: earth, water, fire, air, and space. These 5 temples are a remarkable fusion of architecture and ancient wisdom. Don't miss out on fascinating explorations of India's rich history and spirituality. Hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications to stay updated with our future videos. Namaste.